Welcome to Talking WoW, the podcast where we talk about World of Warcraft, believe it or not. My name is Tom, and today we're going to be talking about going from zero to Keystone Master in a very, very unique challenge that my lovely co-host here has organized and been participating in. My co-host, of course, is Marty. Hello, Marty.
Hello, and thank you for the lovely introduction to a small project that I've been participating in. And let's talk about it.
Yeah, probably one of the nicest introductions I've ever given you on this show. Before we get started here, though, Marty, I just got to ask, what the hell are you wearing?
So, we decided on trying to do transmogs together, and we already had made one theme before we started. But then when we actually started, all the transmog for the Love is in the Air event came out, and everyone decided to go with that instead. So I was forced into this transmog. I did not choose it myself. I also changed my dragon to be a pink dragon, so it actually fits with the theme. But I was bullied, and I was forced to do so. This is not of my own doing.
We don't believe that for a second. Let's move on. No, so this project is called, I guess, codename Project 424, Zero to Keystone Master in the field of Mythic dungeons. Why don't we start, Marty? How did this idea come about?
So it started with me hanging out together with a good friend, Sean, from Crowded Friend, and our friend Molly, and because we've been doing some Mythic Plus together. And Marty was teaching Sean how to play Restoration Shaman. And we were just, fooling around, doing some Mythic Plus, having a good time together. And all of a sudden, we looked at Sean's gear, because Sean had boosted a character, so he would be ready to get into Mythic Plus. And we had done our best to try and gear him up and get ready for that. And when we were doing like fairly high keys, probably 16, 18 item level keys, we realized that Sean still had his boosted trinkets on, because he hadn't gotten any, great trinkets any longer. And they were like just crappy stat trinkets at item level 424. So we sort of joked about that, and joked that, hey, it's totally possible to get KSM in 424 gear, right? And that sort of like became a meme. And then we were like, hey, maybe we should try and do it. Maybe we should just, boost characters to 4, because they start out, a boosted character is at 424. So how about we just boost some characters and get KSM on those? And that's basically how it started.
So yeah, 424, and this is in Season 3 of Dragonflight. We should just add, I suppose that's a little detail there.
It is. It is equivalent to normal dungeon gear, so the gear that you get from a normal dungeon.
So when I first heard you talking about this, obviously for a long while I didn't really listen to what you were saying, but then once I did, this reminded me a little bit of the challenge modes in Mists of Pandaria, and I know like you were a big fan of that. Is that something that, inspired that as well?
I don't know if it inspired it, but I know that you mentioned it at some point, and I was sort of thinking it is probably true, because if I remember correctly, when we did challenge mode, I think the gear got scaled. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think it did. So it's sort of like it does, there is a few parallels to that where, our gear is not getting scaled, but it is a fixed, 424 item level. So you could say that there is, some kind of parallel to that. And I love the old challenge mode. So I really like that comparison as well. I think it's totally...
Yeah, I'm not saying you ripped the idea off or anything like that.
But it's true. It can feel like it. It can definitely feel like that's the play mode we're playing.
I think it's really cool because, and I know we've had people in the community in the past that we've connected with who create their own rules, don't they? Their own ways to play World of Warcraft. And I mean, we've seen it very recently with the introduction of like hardcore, even making it into classic. That was just a community-driven initiative initially. And we've seen it in so many other paths and fields in the game as well. So very, very cool. So what I'm asking here, Marty, what are the rules of Project 424 in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, the rules are we cannot equip items higher than item level 424, so 424. So how do we get these characters? Some people have just bought a boosted their characters, and now they're sitting at 424, and that's the gear that they are using. The rest of us who didn't want to spend money on the project, we leveled our own characters, geared them for 424, and the way that we geared them was basically just doing the Emerald Dream playthrough, because you get 421 items from that, so you can just boost them once and they're 424. And then I did a few dungeons as well, just to because trinkets is not something you get from playing through the storyline. So I had to get some trinkets from normal dungeons, and then I got myself a crafted piece. But at the end of the day, nothing above 424. But you're fully allowed to enchant your gear, and you're fully allowed to use consumables, all that stuff. But you're not allowed to equip any of the upgrades that you get from these dungeons, or from your vault, or from whatever you're doing.
What are you doing with those upgrades? Are they just getting vendored or disenchanted, or what's happening with those?
All of us, we kept them in the bag. So we do have the gear available for later, because we did talk about, but hey, KSM is one thing. There's also Keystone Hero. So how about when we're done with all this, we just equip all the gear that we got, and then that's the gear that we need to get, hero with. But I don't know. It's just fun jokes so far. But that's usually how it starts, right? With a stupid joke, and then all of a sudden you're doing it. So yeah. But anyway, main rule 424, no upgrades allowed. We did consider, because it's not possible to get the current tier, but you can actually get Season 2 tier if you wanted to, and at 424 item level today. So we considered that, but some people were just like, no, I want it to just be a boosted character, and a boosted character don't have tiers. So we decided to just, to be like, yep, it's without tier as well. So no tier pieces allowed. Or at least, I guess you could have one tier piece, any of the set bonuses are not allowed. So that is those are the few rules that we have. Yeah,
and I guess when you're putting together something like this, you want the rules to be somewhat straightforward, right? You don't want to have all these technical or technicalities where well, you can equip this, but you can't equip that, and I guess it's just easier to say, let's do it that way.
100%. We didn't wanted to have a lot of elaborate rules. We just wanted to get in there and have fun. That also, because you don't want to have crazy rules as well, because we also needed to gear the characters, and that can be difficult enough, especially going for those trinkets. I made, I don't know how many, 20, 30 dungeon runs just to get one trinket that I needed, because it never dropped, or it dropped for someone who was not in our party. Because that's just the name of the game, so.
Related to our good friend Sean, I'm just checking the rules here. Is it necessary to have at least one Canadian in the party?
It's not part of the rules yet. I don't know about the future. but no, you can play with whomever you want to. Actually, I think maybe it would be nice to have someone from a different region, because then you 100% know that they probably had to boost the character. So
that's very true. But Blizzard would be very happy about you running this and encouraging people to boost characters. I'm sure the stock value is going up as we speak. Something I noticed, Marty, when I watched you streaming this, because you've been doing that over on the Talking WoW Twitch channel, is, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like you're having a lot of fun doing this.
Oh, we totally do have a lot of fun. And it definitely helps that we have a group of people who are extremely crazy / silly / hilarious. Because we are having so much fun with it, and people are complaining about low haste. And being a paladin tank, you really want a lot of haste. So Sean is hating every minute of it, he's saying, even though it seems like he's having a grand old good time. So yeah, that's definitely lot of fun being had. Yeah,
I really enjoyed it because I was watching your latest ventures into a few mythics, and I don't know what I expected. I expected, obviously, when you're streaming and you're doing mythics, like that's one thing, with your focus as well. But I expected, I don't know, it to be a bit more regimented, a bit more like, okay, we've got to do this. But it wasn't. It was so laid back and chill. And I think that actually probably helps you do this challenge, that you're having so much fun with it. You can't wait to, do the next round of dungeons together. And honestly, just watching you do that has probably been the most fun I've ever had, just like watching people do mythics in World of Warcraft, because it's just the interactions between everyone as well, and how everyone is just embracing the challenge. And if things go wrong, they go wrong, but you're trying something totally out of the box with this, and I just think it's really cool.
I will have to say that especially that night that you tuned in, there was points where I was like, all right, this is a little bit too merry, because I'm also I need to hear calls and stuff like that. At some point, crap just happens with people like talking over each other, and you miss a call, and it stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we're here to have fun. We're here to just we're here to have fun. We have to doing a fun challenge, and yeah, it happens. It's part of it. So
what has been the biggest challenge so far with this challenge?
I think one of the biggest challenges that we have been facing is just getting the right keys, because getting a key is random, especially because we don't want to spend forever in this. We want to get this finished up. So the last session we had, or the two last sessions we had, we were basically trying to get the correct keys. We have been very lucky, and we got keys that we needed, but there was one issue where we needed a specific key just for getting some of those bonus points, and we were fishing for it. So basically what that means is that we are going into dungeons, but we need to time them, because then everyone else can re-roll their key, because to try and get that key that we needed, and we didn't get it. So we scheduled an additional night that we hadn't planned for, but we scheduled another night where we just lowered our keys, because we didn't need a high key. We just needed on at least 10 or something like that. So everyone lowered their keys to a 10. We did one really, really quickly to try and get the correct key that we needed, and everyone failed again, except the actual key that we were doing. So all the rerolls failed, but the actual key we were doing, and I don't know why, he was just sitting on it, because that's the first key that we get. So he was just sitting on it, waiting to see what we reroll. And when everyone was like, oh, we didn't get it, he was like, oh, but look what it turned into. So the key actually turned into a 12, and we just needed it on a 10. So it turned into a 12, which meant even more bonus points. So yeah.
No, I've known you for a long time, Marty, and that would say that I trust you. But how do you prove what you're saying is actually happening? Because it's all well and good you sitting there being like, we're going to do all these mythics, and we're only going to equip 424 gear and all these restrictions. How do you even prove that?
Very easily, because Radar.io, you can make a profile, you can make a small team over there, and we did so. So everything that we have been doing together as a team is recorded over there, where you can go in and look at individual runs. You can see that I'm not lying. We're actually in 424 gear when we did those runs, all that good stuff. And actually, it also comes with some stats. Like there's a silver bracket called Dungeons 11 to 15, and we are the number one team in the world in our item level bracket.
Oh my goodness, look at this. Humble brag right there. Humble brag on Talking WoW.
I do have to say, though, that there is 2 teams in the bracket. So
okay. For a second there, I thought I was sitting amongst World of Warcraft royalty. So I guess finally I have 2 little questions for you. Is this achievable? Do you think you can do it?
100%. So we're using a small add-on called Mythic Plus Gains, where you can select dungeon you haven't done yet. You can see how many points you get, And in the coming week, we need to do 1 dungeon out of 15. And we already have done different, like probably one of the hardest dungeons as of 15 in the gear that we have. So we just need to get 1 15 and 2 14s done next week, and then we should be at the 2K rating. So is it doable? 100%, and most likely in this next reset. Actually, when this episode airs, we are in the reset. So in this current reset, it should be achievable.
And that leads me, I guess, to my final question. Do you think this is something you're going to do every season?
I think I'd like to. I think it's a fun little challenge. I would like to get more people on board if there are more people who would be interested in doing something like that, because it doesn't need to be like a boosted character challenge. It could also just be like, we're going to try and do this with normal gear. It is definitely doable with decent players. Obviously, we also had challenges within our group. Just because, first of all, we're not used to playing together, but also, it is 4-4 item level. You are not going to be as strong, and tier sets mean a lot. I mean, the amount of times that our enhancement shaman has been saying like, oh no, I did the wrong opener again because my tier set is not here, so it is definitely different, and it is definitely a challenge, but, it would be fun to look at in the upcoming seasons.
I love it. I love what you're doing, and I'm always very happy and supportive when people go outside that box and start creating their own rule sets to play World of Warcraft in a different way. And I know yourself, Marty, you're very, very supportive of that as well in the World of Warcraft community. And who knows, maybe one day we'll see some sort of mode introduced back into World of Warcraft where this is a thing, inspired by Marty and his epic team. Or, maybe we'll even get like a little feat of strength achievement for doing such a thing in the future if somebody out there is listening and gets a little bit inspired by that. Do you have anything on the horizon like this that you might be, looking to stretch it a bit further?
There was an idea that got asked about when we were streaming last time, which was, hey, how about we do a normal raid with 4-4 item level? And it's still on the idea stage, but we do have a few people in mind that we could, recruit for this, because technically we only need 10 people. So it's definitely an idea that we might pursue before the season is over, but I don't know yet. I still need to talk to everyone, and we still need to find the last few people. But yeah, how about a 4-2-4 normal raid one day? Who knows?
I think you're onto something with this, because, I mean, it's one thing, gearing up and probably over-gearing the content, right? So you eventually succeed, but setting those parameters where it's like, okay, well, we can't over-gear it. Like, we have to master the mechanics, and we have to, work within these parameters. I definitely think there's probably a user base out there that is looking for something like this in World of Warcraft, because people get their mythic achievements in a season and then they're done, aren't they? They're basically like, oh, what do I do now? This could be like a further step Blizzard could even have in the game for the hardcore mythic people that want to give themselves an extra challenge, or an extra challenge in raids as well. So yeah, what do you think out there of Marty and the team's Project 424 idea? Has it inspired you to maybe take up and have a go yourself? Or maybe it's inspired you to do some sort of outside the box idea in World of Warcraft? We would love to know your thoughts and feelings on this topic. You can do that in the places that you do that on social media, on the comments section on YouTube. We're always reading that and having a good time. But that is all we had for this episode of Talking WoW. I've been Tom.
I've been Marty.
And we've been Talking WoW.
Thanks for tuning in, champion. Did you enjoy this episode of Talking WoW? If so, why not drop a review on your podcast catcher of choice, or leave us a comment? You can find Talking WoW on Twitter or YouTube over at Talking WoW. Hope to see you again soon.